Hey guys, this is Ryan from MacKite here.
And I'm Aaron.
And today we're going to be talking about the foil drive Gen 2 Max and Slim. And hopefully by the end of this video, if you're considering picking up a foil drive Gen 2, you'll have a pretty good idea of which one is going to be right for you. All right, so getting into it. Obvious differences here. You can probably see just by looking at them. Size.
Yep.
Max, larger than the Slim. Total length I don't think is that different. I think they're about the same, but it's really that profile that you're looking at here.
Sure.
I don't know if the camera's going to be able to pick up on this,
you
but
can see there's quite a bit of difference there.
Max is a little bit thicker than what the Slim.
Right. So if I've been doing homework about foil drive, this is probably the first question that I'm going to land on, right? Like I'm like, well, do I need the Max assist or I need the Slim assist? And so that's kind of where we're at with this video and answering that question. And it's cool because I really genuinely, although I film these, I genuinely don't understand all of the intricacies the way that you do. So I'm actually learning here as we're doing this. So thanks for sticking with us.
And for sure, there's pros and cons to both. As you can see, what we already noted here, the size.
Right.
So con for the Max unit, it's going to have a little more drag.
Yep.
It's a little bit larger,
a little more weight,
bit heavier. More weight, just like you said. So it's bigger. It also, on the plus side of that, more power, more runtime. I should say more runtime is what you get out of
on the
it.
Max.
So that's the advantage with the Max. You're getting more runtime at the sacrifice of a little extra drag, a little extra weight.
The Max seems like the way to go for the buck newbie, right? Like somebody who no prior foiling experience, maybe not coming from kite foiling or wake foiling or any other wing foiling, any other aspect of riding a hydrofoil and being familiar with what it takes to effectively stay on plane with a foil. I'm guessing the Max is kind of like, hey, dummy proof it, make sure you got plenty of power. Versus with the Slim, I feel like you guys, I know you've been out on the Slim and you can, because you're efficient with it, you can make it, you're using it sparingly, just enough to get up, get on foil, and then kick it off.
I would say there's really, I mean, getting right into it without going over too many details to confuse you to start with, but you've got, the Max is kind of for your everyday rider. Your person that might not have any foil experience, might have a little foil experience. Maybe they're a wing foiler and they want to get into prone foiling.
Right.
Most people are going to fall into this category.
Cool.
The Slim, I would say, is more for someone that's already been foiling. Say they're a downwind supper and they just want a little extra power to get up in waves, or they want to a little extra push to ride that downwind swell on their prone board, but they're already proning, or just usually it's someone that's already been foiling in that discipline.
How often do you find somebody, now this seems like this seems like an ego check here to me. When I'm looking at these two, I'm like, I see this. My ego says, oh, well, you want the small high performance because, it is what it is. That's probably a mistake. I feel like this is one of those performance upgrades that you'll know when the time is right to maybe upgrade to this if you're already starting on the Max, or if you have, like you said, already have a ton of hydrofoil experience and feel like, you know what, I think I can forego this option because I'm pretty efficient on foil and jump into the Slim.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, and there you go to the next difference.
is what's happening.
Battery size. How much runtime are you going to get out of each one? And I'm not going to go into specifics and say you're going to get 30 minutes here and an hour there, that sort of thing, because there's way too many variables.
All variables are different, right?
You got weight, you got skill level, you got types of riding, you got the foil that you're using, the gear.
Conditions?
There's too many variables to put any sort of number on it. But the number I can give you is the size of the battery. So we've got the two larger nose cones on here for the larger batteries.
Okay.
So these two batteries, you're looking at just over 50% more in here.
Wow.
Just about 50% bigger
than
the larger Slim unit, which is quite a bit of runtime.
Sure.
If, for instance, you were going to get 20 minutes on here, you're looking at 40 on here.
Wow.
Or put whatever in there. Like that's a pretty big difference. So that is the number one factor for most people, I would say. most people are using the foil assist a fair amount when they go out.
Sure. Almost e-foiling, right? Like
yeah,
almost just being like, you know what, I'm hammered down like most of the time, or throttle on, I should say, most of the time.
Right. There are quite a few people that will sit and wait for the sets to come in,
just like
catch a set, and then paddle back out, and they're just looking to catch the wave earlier or catch kind of that swell that's not breaking, where they don't have quite enough paddle power to get up in it.
Right.
But a lot of people are waiting for the wave, taking off full throttle in the wave, getting up, riding it, and then maybe they might be buzzing back out on foil to go ride again. Or like here in the Great Lakes, we have a ton of just kind of choppy lake swell. A lot of choppy lake swell.
Close interval. Yeah.
Close interval.
Yep.
So it's great in the sense that you can bounce around, pump from wave to wave.
Yeah.
But eventually you hit that point where it's time to go back. Really hard to try and paddle out through. Easiest way to get out through is to just buzz through. Or maybe you've got to close out and you just hit a dead spot and there's no more wave to bounce around on.
Right.
So a lot more motoring, I would say, here than maybe in some other applications. And it depends on your skill level too. But for most people, they're looking to pick this up because they want to make it easy. You're looking for the easy button.
Sure.
You're looking to know that you can go out there and you can get up and ride the swell. Obviously, there's a lot of skill in the foil side of things that you have to have. This isn't going to replace that. But
I do have, I go back to ego when I look at these though. Honestly, I'm kind of like, you know what? We do this with wingboard sizing all the time. You get the guy who wants to go too small, too quick, and you're like, dude, I'm telling you, time out. Go big. You won't regret that. And I feel like for what? Do you think it's fair to say that 80-90% of users could just go straight here to the max, and at which point you turn into Josh Koo, respect, and you can make do with some really small battery options. I feel like this is kind of the no-brainer.
And that's the cool thing about having two nose cones as well, because obviously this is going to have more drag than if you snap this off of here and you pop on the smaller battery for this unit with the smaller nose cone. So now you've just reduced the size a little bit, you've dropped some weight, gained a little bit of performance. Again, anytime you go with a smaller battery, you're sacrificing a little bit of the life of the ride. But that's an easy way for if you want to be on this unit but you need the power. You can look at it that way, where you can drop a little bit in weight and overall size and drag of the unit, if you will. And I'd say mostly weight more than drag, but and kind of get a little higher performance unit without going really small and really sacrificing your battery life.
As you were saying that, I was thinking that just the length difference here, sometimes depending on what board you're trying to ride, I'm guessing the bottom contours of some of your board, the length of the track box, and does that go into a step deck anywhere, or do you have some bottom contour shape that conflicts maybe with going any larger than this? I'm sure you guys run into some of that once in a while, where you're like, oh, I can only kind of fit the shorter. I can run the max, but only I can't go with the extended.
And there are some issues there, like you're saying. A lot of the step downs work great with the sport battery in the max unit, not so great with the power battery.
So it's kind of, you're going to need those measurements, I'm guessing. Like if you have a board already, you can take those measurements and then kind of compare to what this is and kind of size up right. But then if you're reverse engineering and saying, well, I want to start here, and then you're going to need to know the specs of whichever one that you choose and make sure that that's going to fit on the board option that you want to get.
Yeah, definitely something to consider. And I know that there are some files out there where you can create a shim or riser pad, if you will, to avoid that issue with running into the step. So there's workarounds around it. I would say the primary concern that you want to be thinking about is how much battery life you want.
Well, how about does that choice? I'm assuming that budget comes into play here, right? Because you probably have 4 different costs associated with the different size options.
Yeah, you can save a little bit with going with the smaller batteries over the larger one.
Right.
Same thing, max is just a little bit more than the slim.
Okay.
Not a huge difference when compared to the overall price of the unit, but that can lower your cost a little bit if you're looking a little more budget friendly when you're getting into it.
Yeah.
I would say another real big consideration is the particular sport that you're doing.
Sure. Okay.
Are you prone foiling? Are you downwind supping? Are you wake thiefing?
Entirely different.
They're all going to use the battery a little bit differently. For instance, wake thiefing, I would say wake thiefing can tend to be a little bit higher battery usage.
Sure, smaller board typically, and probably lots of motoring around wake.
Yeah, you're motoring over to the wake, you're riding it, and then the next wake you might see might be on the other end of your lake.
Yeah.
So you're hopping on the motor again, gunning it over there, riding that one. So definitely would be a prime candidate for the larger board or larger max unit, larger battery. Whereas you get someone that's downwind supping, you're out there, you've already got a paddle that's real easy to use. You put your controller on the paddle and you're just using it for a little extra bump just while you're paddling. And then you're up, you're downwinding for a while until you basically fall again and need to use the battery for another push supping. So
with all that said, what's our most common recommendation that you guys, you know, if somebody walks in or we're talking with somebody about, we're consulting about which one of these batteries, what's the common setup?
Yeah, I would say if someone is questioning it or has that question, almost always they're the max unit person.
Okay. And then what would decide
between the two battery sizes?
Yeah, between the two sizes. Do you have?
Yeah. I would say the majority of people are going with the max power to start.
Okay.
It's always it's kind of that same thing with wing foiling, with kite boarding.
Sure.
When you're starting out, what size do you grab? What size kite do you get? What size wing do you get?
For sure.
When you're in between a 12 and a 14 meter kite, when you're learning, you're going to bump up. You want to have the extra power. You want to have the extra juice. Same thing with winging. When you're not sure, 5 or 6 meter, you're going to grab the 6 meter because you want a little power. You want to make sure that you can essentially make up for your inefficiencies. Same exact thing with the foil drive units.
Yep.
You want to have that little extra power. You'd rather have a little extra power with a little bit of sacrifice on weight than not have that power, be out there struggling and wish you had it.
So what's the progression then? If you've got, so you got the max power battery would be, this is your big gun. Would the next step down be over to your, and foil drive has these labeled accordingly, I'm guessing. You got the A, the B,
C and D over here for the slim unit.
Okay. So that's kind of the natural progression of things. This is the most heat. This is next one down, and then C and D respectively. So this would be your most minimal setup. Again, Kiwi, I see you, buddy. And likewise with A and B on the max side. So that's kind of cool.
So most people are going to start with the max. Almost always recommend the power battery starting out. Make sure you got plenty of juice. If you're going for a second battery with this unit, depending where you're at and in your specific circumstances, that might be a good time to look at getting the sport battery.
Sure.
Or a lot of people actually end up picking up 2 power batteries because they just want to go out there and they want to
no questions asked
for their session
all day,
and then be off the water after that. So I would say really common for most people getting into prone foiling. They haven't had a ton of prone experience. They're good foilers a lot of times. A lot of times they can foil waves no problem, maybe even pump to connect to other waves, maybe even pump most of the way or all the way back out into lineup. The max is really popular. I would say same thing with wake thiefing. You're going to drain batteries really quick. Doing that style of riding as well. So,
and I would imagine you get more efficient on the trigger, right? As you're riding and realizing how much throttle you need or don't need, you can probably feather it a bit more. Maybe dial back your power as you progress a little bit. So I'm sure you could really start to squeeze more and more out of it. The more efficient that you become as a foiler.
And the upside is too, the more you ride and the more you're going to be getting up on the waves, because you're going to be catching a lot more waves with the foil drive.
Yeah, right.
The more efficient foiler you become in general.
Right.
Even batteries excluded. You're just going to become better at riding the waves. You're going to be better at pumping.
Yeah.
You're going to spend more time on foil without your motor running. And that's going to increase your battery life too. So going over the slim, I would say slim. I see a lot of people that are doing downwind sup. Okay. And then maybe more advanced prone foilers as well.
Yeah.
That's pretty common. The guys that are already prone foiling, they're riding in, pumping all the way back out to the lineup, riding again. Like, you don't need a whole lot of extra power there to get a really long session. But majority of people, you can't go wrong with the Max with the power battery.
Sure.
That's the easy button. That's the spot to start. If you do already have experience downwinding or a lot of experience proning, the slim is a good one to look at too. But
this is the over 40 category. This is the under 40 category.
Not that I go quite that far. I'm not. You're putting me in this category, and I'm liking the Max unit.
You've gotten very efficient, though. I've seen you out there ripping on it, and it's cool to see your progression with foil drive. As we are all getting familiar with it and using it, you're actually out there putting it through its paces, and you're finding out that, hey, man, this is like legit fun on days that. And have you found yourself starting to switch more over to foil drive from wing foiling? Because you and Jeff and Tucker are absolutely, you guys have just embraced wing foiling head over the past few years. Yep. How has foil drive cut into your wing foil sessions, or how has that affected your?
No, it's hard to get off the wing foil here because we have such good wing foiling conditions. But I found myself needing to take a little break with a shoulder injury, hopping on the foil drive.
Sure.
And since putting in that time, it's like I would almost rather exclusively go out on the foil drive just because it's so easy.
Yeah.
You pop it on your board, and we'll put out another video here with kind of my setup and what I'm using. But pop it on your board, slap a battery in there, and you go out and ride. There's no setting up your wing.
Right.
There's no, I'm using the CWS screws, so it just thumb screws right in the board, like quick and easy. If I go out with Jeff or Tucker, like I pop my stuff out of the car, they pop their stuff out of the car, and I pretty much head to the water.
For sure.
And they're still walking down the beach with everything.
Well, and they're looking at the wind. What's what wing am I rigging? What foil and stabilizer? What combo am I running? Whereas you with foil drive, you already have that dialed. You've got your favorite board. You've got your mast set up and your hydrofoil set up. You throw on your foil drive and you just go. I'm guessing that's a lot. Like the decision making is easy. I'm guessing at that point. And maybe if conditions are, waist and chest high, maybe you're looking at a certain front wing, and then if it's chest and up, you may be looking at a different front wing. But I bet that's probably the extent of the decision making. Whereas, when you hemming and hawing about the wind, you're like, do I rig a 5? Do I rig a 4? What am I doing? Is it coming up? Is it dying? This seems to really clear up a lot of that noise.
It's a lot less variables. For sure.
While at the same time, like you say, complementing your foiling abilities. So while you're spending time on foil drive and enjoying that experience, you can also take and translate your added foiling skills back into wing foiling the next time you go out and have a good rip.
Yep, for sure. So summarizing this, can't go wrong with the Max unit with the power battery. That's where most people are starting out. The slim unit is a good option for people that are, I would say, more advanced. If you're already doing downwind paddling or prone foiling at a high level, this might be worth checking out. Either way, if you've got any questions about any of these units, reach out to us at the shop. We're here to help you guys out. Obviously, there's a lot more variables that we didn't talk about, gear, your specific experience, your conditions. So if you've got any questions about which unit, battery, setup might be right for you, reach out to us at the shop, send us an email, give us a call. We're always happy to help you guys out.
Cheers.